I've poured thousands of dollars into supporting my younger brother, Ethan, 29M, who has battled drug addiction for the past 5 years, including funding 2 rehab programs and letting him stay at my place rent-free. But he stole my work computer to buy drugs, and now he's in jail, pleading for my help once more. I'm a 32-year-old man, and Ethan is my only sibling. To provide context, I've always tried to be a dependable big brother. Growing up, Ethan and I were tight. We were raised in a supportive, middle-class family with caring parents, and our childhood was stable, nothing traumatic. Ethan was a bright, charismatic kid, always full of energy. He excelled in school when he put in the effort and had a real talent for digital art and design. But in his early 20s, he got mixed up with the wrong crowd and started experimenting with drugs. What started as casual partying spiraled into a full-blown addiction that has dominated the last 5 years of his life. During this time, I've done everything I could think of to help Ethan get sober and rebuild his life, often at significant personal and financial cost. Here's a rundown of the major ways I've supported him. Funded rehab programs twice. I spent thousands on 2 separate rehab stints for Ethan. The first was about 4 years ago when his addiction became undeniable, and he agreed to seek help. He completed the 30-day program and stayed clean briefly, but fell back into old habits soon after. A couple of years later, I paid for another rehab stay when his situation deteriorated again. Sadly, that attempt also failed. He finished the program but relapsed within months. Provided free housing. I let Ethan live with me rent-free multiple times when he was struggling or had nowhere else to go. I hoped a stable home would give him a foundation to recover. I covered groceries and gave him a room, no strings attached. But each time he either snuck out to use drugs or brought substances into my home. I had to ask him to leave more than once after finding drug paraphernalia in my bathroom or seeing him come home clearly under the influence, despite his promises to stay clean. Offered jobs and financial help. I secured Ethan jobs at my small business and through connections, hoping work would give him purpose and structure. Each time he either stopped showing up or was so unreliable that he got let go. I also lent him money, rarely repaid, for things like clearing small debts, fixing his car, or paying fines from drug-related legal issues, hoping to remove barriers to his recovery. Beyond that, I've driven him to recovery meetings, talked him through low moments, and picked him up from dangerous areas late at night when he was high. You name it, I've done it. Emotionally and financially, I've gone all in for Ethan. I wanted to believe that if I kept showing him support and a way out, he'd eventually turn things around. I love my brother deeply, but his addiction has worn me down. Watching someone you care about destroy themselves despite your efforts is exhausting and soul-crushing. The lowest point came about a month ago when Ethan did something that shattered my trust. While staying at my place again, he stole my work computer and sold it to buy drugs. I came home after a long day to find it missing. Initially, I thought I'd misplaced it, but suspicion quickly turned to Ethan. When I confronted him, he denied it at first but eventually admitted he pawned it for cash to buy pills, claiming he was desperate. I was livid and felt completely betrayed. That computer held critical work and personal files. I told him to leave my house immediately, saying I couldn't have him around after such a violation. He left, and I didn't know where he went that night. I just needed him gone. Not long after, Ethan's downward spiral worsened. He was arrested for drug possession a couple of weeks later, his most serious legal trouble yet. He's now in jail, facing significant consequences. From jail, Ethan contacted me and our parents, begging for help. He wants me to pay $8,000 for a 90-day private rehab program, saying the court will release him to attend if the spot is secured. He insists this time is different, claiming he's hit rock bottom and is truly ready to get clean. He sounds desperate and scared, saying this is his last shot at turning his life around. I'm torn. I don't trust his promises anymore. I've heard this time will be different too many times, only for him to relapse when things stabilize. It's a brutal cycle. He promises change, I or our parents step in, he relapses, and we're back to square one, with me out more money or dealing with more chaos. The $8,000 isn't pocket change for me. I could scrape it together from savings, but it would delay major goals like saving for a house. Beyond the money, it's the emotional toll. Every time I've helped, I've gotten my hopes up, only to be crushed when he falls back into addiction. Our parents are involved too. They can't afford the rehab costs. They're nearing retirement and don't have the funds. So they're urging me to pay, saying we can't abandon Ethan and that this might be the chance that sticks. My mom, in particular, is terrified he'll die if we don't help. My dad is more cautious but still thinks we should try one more time. I get their fear. I'm scared, too. But I'm resentful that the responsibility always falls on me because I'm more financially stable. They haven't spent what I have, though they've carried the emotional burden. I've told them and Ethan I'm hesitant. I explained that I don't want to fund another rehab after the last two failed and he stole from me. I feel I've done more than enough, and Ethan needs to take responsibility for himself. My mom cried. My dad said he understands but disagrees, and Ethan has been sending letters and calling from jail, pleading that this time will be different. He admits he messed up by stealing and says he's deeply sorry. He claims jail has been a wake-up call and that he'll never go back if I help with this rehab. It's a lot of emotional pressure. I'm leaning toward not paying, as I'm at my breaking point emotionally and can't handle another cycle of false hope and disappointment. I also don't like being expected to sacrifice my financial future for something that might not work. Still, it's a tough call and I feel terrible. That's why I need an outside perspective. Am I wrong for refusing to fund rehab after he stole from me to buy drugs? Update 1 week later. Thank you to everyone who responded to my post. Your insights were eye-opening and emotionally heavy. Most of you said I wasn't wrong and had done more than enough for Ethan. Many pointed out that continuously bailing him out might enable his addiction by shielding him from consequences. Some suggested one final effort if I saw genuine remorse, but with strict boundaries to protect myself. It gave me a lot to reflect on. After much thought, I decided to visit Ethan in jail to assess his sincerity before making a final decision. I felt I owed it to myself, and maybe to him, to see his state in person. A few days after my post, I went to the county jail during visiting hours. Seeing Ethan in an orange jumpsuit behind a glass partition was heartbreaking. We spoke through a phone across the barrier. He looked worn out, thinner, and genuinely distressed. When he saw me, he teared up almost instantly. I've seen him cry before, often manipulatively, but this felt raw. He seemed broken. The conversation was emotional but calm. Ethan apologized profusely, saying, "I'm so sorry for everything, for stealing your computer, for lying, for all the pain I've caused." He broke down sobbing, saying he hates who he's become. I stayed composed and listened without committing to anything. I told him I was deeply hurt and had lost trust in him. He said he understood and that I had every right to feel that way. I asked why he believed this time would be different. He paused, gathered himself, and said jail had been a harsh wake-up call. He shared a chilling story. On his first night in jail, his cellmate overdosed and died next to him, likely from smuggled drugs or something taken before arrest. Ethan said watching someone die in a grim cell was like seeing his own future if he didn't change. He then outlined a plan. Complete the 90-day rehab, move into a sober living home afterward, attend daily Narcotics Anonymous meetings, get a sponsor, and pursue therapy. He even mentioned wanting to return to school for graphic design, reconnecting with his old passion for art. It was the most concrete, forward-thinking plan I'd ever heard from him. His past promises were vague. "I'll get clean, I swear." But this had specific steps. I went in determined to stay firm, but his evident fear, the overdose story, and his detailed plan shook me. He said repeatedly, "That could have been me. I don't want to die. I want to live." Hearing him express such raw fear of death hit me hard. He said, "I know I've said this before, but something's clicked. I'm done with this life. Please, just one more chance." He pleaded sincerely, not entitledly. I didn't commit then, saying I was glad he was thinking about his future and hoped he meant it. He asked again for help with the rehab, adding, "Whatever you decide, I love you and I'm sorry." That, combined with his fear of dying, stayed with me. Over the next few days, I spoke with our parents and did some soul-searching. My mom insisted this was a turning point for Ethan, while my dad said, "If this doesn't work, nothing will," suggesting this was truly his last shot. I also considered the advice from readers. Some urged helping with strict conditions, others advocated tough love. I'm leaning toward one final chance, but with safeguards to avoid enabling him. I'm researching the rehab program's reputation and payment options, and consulted a lawyer friend about drafting an agreement if I pay. I'll share more in my next update once I finalize my decision. Update 2, 2 weeks later I've made my decision and acted on it, with strict conditions. After much deliberation and sleepless nights, I agreed to fund the 90-day rehab program for Ethan, but with precautions to protect myself and ensure his commitment. I didn't give Ethan any money directly. I contacted the rehab facility to confirm they'd accept him from jail and paid the $8,000 fee directly to secure his spot. This required coordinating with the court, which agreed to release him to the program as part of his legal terms, provided it was a reputable facility and paid up front. It took paperwork and calls, but we arranged it. Before his release, I had Ethan sign a formal agreement, drafted with my lawyer friend's help. It states the $8,000 is a loan, not a gift. If he completes the 90 days and stays sober, we can discuss flexible repayment or potentially forgiving part of it, prioritizing his recovery. But if he leaves early, gets kicked out, or relapses soon after, he must repay the full amount within a set period. This ensures consequences if he doesn't follow through. He signed willingly, even eagerly, which I took as a good sign. About 2 weeks ago, Ethan was transferred from jail to the rehab facility. I accompanied him for intake paperwork as the payer. Seeing him out of jail and in treatment felt hopeful, but I stayed cautious. The staff conducted a medical evaluation and interview. Before I left, Ethan hugged me tightly, thanking me repeatedly and promising not to mess this up. I reminded him gently, "Ethan, this is really the last time. If you bail or relapse, I'm done." He said he understood. In the first 2 weeks, contact was limited due to the facility's restricted phone policy. I got one brief call from him after a week. He sounded tired, expected during withdrawal and therapy, but said he was sticking with it. He admitted the program was tough, especially group sessions, but he was determined. As the payer and emergency contact, I received updates from a counselor. Ethan signed a release. They said he was engaged and motivated, though they cautioned it's early, and many patients start strong but struggle later. My parents were overjoyed that Ethan was in treatment. My mom's been sending him letters. The facility allows mail, and he's responded, sounding grateful and committed. We were all cautiously hopeful that the jail scare and structured program might lead to lasting change. I'm out $8,000, which hurts, but I tried to see it as an investment in Ethan's health. The agreement gives me peace of mind, though I'd forgive the money if he truly recovers. I dared to hope that in 90 days, he could be on a new path. I'll update again if there are major developments. Update 3, 1 month later. This is a tough update. About 2 months into the 90-day program, Ethan left early, against medical advice. I'm disappointed, angry, and mostly just defeated. Around day 47, I got a call from the rehab staff saying Ethan had checked himself out voluntarily. Since it's not a locked facility, they couldn't stop him despite urging him to stay. I was stunned. He'd been doing well by all accounts. A day later, he called me from a borrowed phone, saying he was at a friend's place. I asked why he'd thrown away this chance. He said the program felt too restrictive, with overly strict rules and no privacy, and he believed he could stay clean independently. I reminded him that leaving breached our agreement, meaning he owes me the $8,000. He brushed it off, saying, "I'll pay you back, just give me time," and insisted he hadn't relapsed, claiming he could recover his own way. I was deeply skeptical. Then he asked for a few $100s for a sober living home deposit. Alarm bells rang. I suspected he'd use it for drugs, especially after leaving rehab. I refused, saying I'd only consider paying a verified facility directly, but he couldn't provide details, claiming the place didn't accept third-party payments, which sounded suspicious. He got defensive, accusing me of abandoning him when he was trying to fix his life. I pointed out he'd walked away from the help provided. The call ended in a heated stalemate, and I hung up. I told our parents, who were devastated. My mom suggested finding another program or helping with the sober living home, but I refused, saying it would be wasting more money. My dad agreed Ethan needs to face consequences. Ethan's now on his own, likely with a friend who's probably a bad influence. I've had no contact since, though I said he can reach out to talk, not for money. I'm heartbroken and angry, but trying to focus on myself. The $8,000 is likely gone, but the emotional toll is worse. I hope he learns from this, but I'm not hopeful. I'll update if anything significant happens. Update 4, 2 weeks later. This is likely my final update, and it's hard to write. 2 weeks after leaving rehab, Ethan overdosed and nearly died. He relapsed soon after leaving, back with his old crowd. One night, he overdosed on what was likely opioids at a friend's house. The friend found him unresponsive, called 911, and paramedics revived him with Narcan. I got a frantic call from my mom and rushed to the hospital, where my parents were already in tears. Ethan was alive but weak, hooked to monitors and IVs. Seeing him so close to death brought more sadness and relief than anger. We didn't talk much beyond saying we loved him and were glad he was alive. The hospital kept him for a couple of days, and their substance abuse team warned him he might not survive another overdose. They recommended immediate treatment. Due to the overdose and his legal situation, the state placed him on a short involuntary detox hold, with plans to transfer him to a state-funded rehab as part of his court terms. I made it clear in front of Ethan that I wouldn't pay for or arrange anything this time. He's now in a state detox facility and will move to mandatory rehab. I'm relieved the system is taking over. Maybe consequences outside our family will make a difference. I see now that our constant rescues delayed his true rock bottom. This overdose might be it, as awful as that is. I've accepted I did all I could, and I don't blame myself anymore. Ethan got a second chance, many don't. I hope this scare pushes him to embrace recovery, but I'm done with financial help or enabling. My boundary is firm. I'll offer emotional support, but nothing more. This is his fight now.